What's the holdup? Who's pushing back? Ethan Ford asked, leaning back in his chair. Henry Payne lowered his voice. Sean Young. He's one of the old guard, been with Victor since the early days. He manages 15 of the organization's underground arcades. Under the new restructuring plan, those gambling dens are slated to be shut down. He's refusing to comply. Ethan searched his memory. He remembered the name now, a rugged man in his late 40s he'd briefly met at Victor Vane's funeral. He hadn't made much of an impression at the time. He gets a cut of the arcade profits, doesn't he? Ethan asked. Yeah, a 30% stake, Henry confirmed. The world turns on greed, Ethan said, rubbing his chin. Of course he doesn't want to shut them down when it hits his pocket. Did you talk to him about a buyout or a severance package? I tried. I offered him a lump sum from the company and a new executive position that would pay just as well as the arcades. He wouldn't hear it. My sources tell me he's already reaching out to the other veterans, trying to rally a mutiny against the restructuring. Henry's face tightened with guilt. Ethan, I'm sorry. I should have handled this. Ethan smiled and waved it off. It's not your fault, Henry. Some people just always want a bigger piece of the pie. He's not just resisting, Henry added. He wants to keep those 15 arcades for himself. He wants the company to just hand over the deeds and the equipment. That was his ultimatum. The negotiations are deadlocked. Ethan pulled out a pack of cigarettes, offering one to Henry and Big Ed before lighting his own. Would he have dared to ask for that if Victor were still alive? Ethan asked with a cold chuckle. The snake is trying to swallow the elephant. He exhaled a plume of smoke. Henry, this has to be resolved the right way. If we let him slide, every other captain will think they can take a bite out of us. Henry's expression shifted. He could guess what Ethan meant by the right way. A public execution. Henry knew Sean Young didn't respect him. When Victor was alive, the boss could keep these old-school thugs in line. Now that Victor was gone and his will had placed the empire in the hands of Henry and Valerie Vane, the old guard was restless. If Sean were allowed to walk away with the assets, the empire Victor spent a lifetime building would be picked apart by vultures within a month. Ethan, how do we play it? Henry asked. Ethan flicked his ash and patted Henry on the shoulder with a thin smile. Henry, I know you're a man who values loyalty. But if you give people like him loyalty, do you think they'll appreciate it? This isn't a door we can leave open. I'm giving him two choices. He can take the check and disappear, or he can just disappear. Henry felt a chill. He hadn't expected Ethan to be this decisive, this surgical. Ethan raised a hand, cutting him off, then looked at Big Ed. Ed, what do you think? Big Ed puffed on a cigarette, scratched his head, and gave a simple, brutal grin. I'd break his damn legs. Victor's barely in the ground, and he's trying to rob the estate. That ain't what brothers do. I've known Sean a long time, but if he's pulling this, he ain't my brother. Ethan turned back to Henry. You hear that? You're worried about old bonds, but if he's doing this, the bond is already broken. Henry was silent for a moment. I understand, Ethan. Ethan stubbed out his cigarette. Good. To do big things, Henry, you have to have a cold heart. You're managing an empire now. It's not just about the money. It's about the livelihoods of the thousands of families tied to these businesses. If we don't modernize and restructure, the feds or the rivals will wipe us out. And when that happens, it won't just be you who suffers. It'll be everyone. Henry nodded solemnly. I know what needs to be done. Ethan smiled, satisfied. Glad to hear it. Set it up for tomorrow night, 8 o'clock at the Night Rose. Tell Sean Young I want to see him. Make sure he knows it's not a request. Use my name. I'll notify him first thing in the morning, Henry said. Just then, old Joe, the owner of the roadside grill, brought over a platter of grilled seafood. Enjoy, gentlemen. Ethan chuckled. All right, let's eat. I am starving. We can talk shop while we chew. Big Ed cracked open 3 beers. Ethan, Henry, cheers. Let's get to it. The three of them dug in, the tension of the city seemingly miles away, for an hour. Once they were finished, Ethan signaled for Cody Cole to come over. Cody approached Ethan, trembling. His legs were cramped and throbbing from crouching on the pavement for so long. He stood before Ethan with his head bowed, unable to meet his eyes. Ethan wiped his mouth with a napkin. Cody, how do we settle this? Cody shuddered. Whatever. Whatever you say, Ethan. Ethan smiled. It's lucky for you that you have a father who's useful. Tell you what, next Sunday, we're going to host a peace dinner. Invite your father, Director Cole. We need to have a talk. My dad. Cody stammered, confused as to why Ethan wanted to see the director of the Port Authority. Got a problem with that? Ethan's eyes narrowed. The pressure was suffocating. Cody nodded frantically. No problem. I'll do it, Ethan. I'll make it happen. Ethan waved him off. Good. Now get out of here. Cody fled as if he'd been granted a royal pardon. His friends scrambled after him, their legs so numb that several tripped and literally crawled away in their haste to escape. Big Ed watched them go and let out a booming laugh. Those kids are a riot. Ethan, you're just letting them walk. Ethan grinned. They're just kids. It's not worth the effort. Besides, Cody is more useful to me as a bridge. Director Cole has been avoiding me. This time, he's going to have to show his face. Henry realized the play. Is this about the shipyard permits? Ethan nodded. Director Cole is a fox. He doesn't want to offend the Zane family, or maybe he's already in bed with them. Either way, I'm using his son to flush him out. Henry marveled at the calculation. Ethan Ford's mind was like a grandmaster's board. Every move served 3 different purposes. The next morning, the Lucky Streak arcade. The dimly lit hall was thick with cigarette smoke. The cacophony of clicking buttons and shouting players was endless. The glass doors swung open, and a group of men walked in, led by a middle-aged man with curly hair, a black suit, and a loud, floral print shirt. He walked with an arrogant swagger, his chest puffed out. Hey, San. Morning, boss. Gordo, you're in early. Several regulars at the machines greeted the man. Sean Gordo, young, grinned and nodded at them. A young man with a buzz cut hurried over. Sean, Benny's in the back waiting for you. Ah, Benny Knox is here early? Must be important. Sean scoffed with a hint of disdain. The group moved into the back offices. Sean pushed open the door to find a bald, muscular man smoking a cigar. Benny, what brings a big shot like you to my humble den? Benny the Bull Knox was one of the organization's primary enforcers, a man who had served Victor Vane alongside Sean for over a decade. He glanced at the men behind Sean, signaling for privacy. Sean waved his hand, dismissing his crew. However, one man remained, a youth with long hair and a cold, expressionless face. Benny frowned, wondering why Sean was keeping this one around. Sean left. Take a seat, Benny. Axel is my right hand. He's family. You can speak freely. Benny sat on the leather sofa. Sean, I hear you've been doing a lot of visiting lately. Sean leaned back in his chair. Yeah, just catching up with the boys. We're all brothers, right? Is that a crime? Catching up? Come on, Sean. Word on the street is you're looking to go independent. And you try and take half the captains with you, Benny challenged. A cold glint flashed in Sean's eyes. So what if I am? You didn't come here the crack of dawn just to check my social calendar, did you? Sean had been with Victor for 15 years. He was a veteran who had bled for the Vane name. He didn't feel like he owed Benny Knox anything. Benny leaned forward. Sean, are you crazy? Victor isn't even cold yet, and you're trying to start a civil war? What are the other crews going to think? I don't give a damn what they think, Sean snapped. Benny, if you're my brother, you'll stay out of this. I am your brother. That's why I'm here. Benny insisted. The company is taking care of you. What more do you want? Sean spat on the floor. Taking care of me? Bullshit. Henry Payne wants to restructure me right out of my business. He wants to shut down my arcades. You think I don't know that? I know the plan, Sean, but you know why he's doing it. Look at those machines out there. Slot machines, poker games. You're running a damn underground casino. This isn't the 90s anymore. You can't run heat like that and stay safe. Victor, let me run them. Sean shouted, slamming his desk. He looked the other way because he knew the money was good. Now that he's gone, this little brother-in-law thinks he can just wipe out my life's work. He's targeting me, Benny. It's not personal, Sean. It's business. Business my ass. I've got 50 guys under me who need to eat. Henry wants us to retire on a pension. Fuck him. He's just a kid who married the boss's sister. He thinks he's a king now. Sean stood up, his face red with rage. If the company wants to restructure, fine. But they aren't taking my arcades. I'm taking them independent. End of story. Benny sighed. Sean, be realistic. Those aren't your arcades. They belong to the company. They belong to Victor's estate. They belong to the man who fought for them. Sean screamed. I did 15 years of dirt for Victor. I never complained. But Victor's gone, and he leaves the keys to a college boy? Where does that leave the men who actually built this? No, Benny. I'm taking what's mine. Benny realized Sean was too far gone. Logic wasn't going to work. The room fell into a heavy silence. Axel, the long-haired youth, sat in the corner peeling an apple with a switchblade, seemingly indifferent to the argument. Sean, Benny said quietly, don't do this. Don't split the family. It starts with you, then it's a landslide. Everything Victor built will crumble. Then let it crumble, Sean muttered, lighting another cigarette. I'm not working for a kid. Henry isn't the one you should worry about, Benny warned. Ethan Ford is behind him. Ethan's the one who took down Ray Young's crew. He's the one who got revenge for Victor. You can disrespect Henry, but you'd better respect Ethan. Sean laughed. Ethan Ford? Yeah, he's got a brain, I'll give him that. But he's an outsider. He's got no rank here. He's just a suit with some money. What's he going to do? Auto me to death. He's dangerous, Sean. I don't care. I've dealt with real monsters. Ethan Ford is just a businessman who got lucky. If he wants to talk, tell him to come see me. But don't try to use his name to scare me. Benny stood up. Fine. I tried. Don't say I didn't warn you when the hammer falls. Benny walked out, slamming the door. Sean sneered and took a deep pull of his cigarette. Who the hell does he think he is? A moment later, a young man ran in with a cell phone. Sean, it's Henry Payne. He's on the line. Sean took the phone with a smirk. After his last conversation with Henry, he decided the man was a lightweight. Speak, Sean said into the receiver. Sean, Ethan wants to see you. Tonight, 8 o'clock, the night rose. Henry's voice came through, low and steady. Sean raised an eyebrow. Ethan wants to see me? Guess the big man finally stepped out from behind the curtain. Be there, Henry said. Tonight's no good for me, Sean chuckled. I've got business to attend to. Tell him maybe next week. He wanted to see if he could rattle Ethan by blowing him off. This isn't an invitation, Sean. Henry's voice turned icy. Ethan said tonight, if you miss this, there won't be a second chance. Oh, is that a threat, Henry? Sean's grip on the phone tightened. It's a fact. You want to talk about going independent? This is the only time we're going to discuss it peacefully. You decide how this ends. Sean felt a surge of anger. He wasn't used to being talked to like this by a junior. He could just ignore it and start moving his assets now. But that would mean an immediate, messy war. If he could get Ethan to agree to a peaceful separation, he'd have the legal and financial shield of the company while he transitioned. Fine, Sean said. If the Golden Boy wants to talk, I'll be there. I'll push my meetings back. 8 o'clock. Don't be late. Henry hung up. Sean tossed the phone onto the desk. Axel, get 10 of the boys ready. We're taking a trip to the Night Rose. Axel stopped twirling his blade. Just 10, boss. Yeah, bring Smokey and the others. Make sure they're armed, but keep it tucked. Got it, Axel nodded. Sean walked over to his liquor cabinet and poured himself a glass of expensive scotch. He took a sip, then made a face. You know, Axel, I've been trying to like this high-end stuff. Thought it would make me feel like a real mogul. But honestly, he downed the rest of the glass and slammed it on the table. This tastes like shit. Axel, give me a bottle of the cheap bourbon from the bottom shelf. 8 o'clock, the night rose. The club was open, but it was early, so the main floor was mostly empty. Neon lights hummed, and the techno music felt hollow in the cavernous space. Up in VIP Suite 1, a room that looked more like a palace than a bar, Camel and Big Ed were nursing beers. Ethan and Henry sat on the plush velvet sofa, Ethan calmly nursing a soda, while Henry checked his watch every 30 seconds. Where is he? Camel growled, checking his Rolex. It's 10 past 8. That prick is making us wait. He might not show, Big Ed said with a shrug. He'd better, Camel muttered. If he doesn't, the last of my patience is gone. Trying to take Victor's business while he's still in the morgue. It makes my skin crawl. Ethan exhaled a thin stream of smoke. He'll be here. A man like Sean needs to feel important. Making us wait is his way of telling himself he still has power. Henry looked at Ethan. Should I call him again? No, Ethan said. If he wants to come, he'll come. If he doesn't, 100 calls won't change it. About 20 minutes later, the door to the suite opened. A bouncer stepped in. Ethan, he's here. Downstairs, Sean Young had strolled into the club, whistling a tune with his hands in his pockets. Axel and 9 other thugs trailed behind him like a funeral procession. Ethan's waiting upstairs, Sean. Follow me, the bouncer said. Traffic was a bitch, Sean said casually. Lead the way. They reached the 3rd floor, but 2 of Ethan's personal security guards blocked the hallway. Only Sean goes inside. The rest of you stay here. The hell we do, one of Sean's goons shouted. It's Ethan's rule, the guard said firmly. Sean pushed the guard's arm away. I don't care about his rules. Move. The guards didn't budge. Sean's face darkened, his hand drifting toward his waistband. San, what are you doing with all these monkeys? The voice came from the other end of the hall. Camel stepped out, looking unimpressed. Who are you hiding from? Seeing Camel, Sean forced a smile. Ah, Camel. Didn't know you were on babysitting duty. Fine, the boys can wait out here. Sean stepped into Suite 1 alone. He gave the room a dismissive glance, then locked eyes with Ethan Ford. Well, Ethan, Sean grinned, walking toward the sofa. I haven't seen you in a while. You're looking well. Skin's as smooth as a baby's. You use a special moisturizer or something? You look prettier than half the girls downstairs. The room went dead silent. Camel and Big Ed glared at Sean, their hands tightening into fists. Sean shrugged, still grinning. Hey, take it easy. It's just a compliment. Right, Ethan? Ethan didn't react. He gestured to the chair directly in front of him. Henry, get Sean a chair. Right here. Henry placed a chair in front of Ethan. Sean sat down, crossing his legs and leaning back with an air of practiced indifference. So, Ethan, why the summons? You want to buy me a drink and sing karaoke? Ethan poured a glass of water, his movements slow and deliberate. Henry tells me you have some issues with the restructuring. I thought I'd hear them from you directly. Sean felt a surge of confidence. Ethan didn't seem as intimidating as the story suggested. He just looked like a smart kid who played by the rules. I'll be blunt, Sean said. I have a lot of issues. Big ones. Go on, Ethan said. Sean pulled out a cigarette and stuck it in his mouth. Damn, I forgot my lighter. Ethan, you mind? He leaned forward, expecting Ethan to light it for him. A classic power move to show who was the veteran and who was the servant. I'll get that for you, Sean, Henry said, reaching for his lighter. Sean shot him a cold look. Not you, Henry. I want the boss to do it. Camel slammed his glass onto the table, ready to jump, but Ethan held up a hand. It's fine, Ethan said with a thin smile. Sean's been with the company for 15 years. A veteran deserves a little respect. Ethan flicked his lighter and held the flame out. Sean puffed his cigarette, feeling like he'd already won the negotiation. He figured Ethan was terrified of a mutiny and was trying to play nice. See? Sean laughed, exhaling smoke into the air. Ethan knows how to treat his elders. Some of you young punks could learn a thing or two. He glanced pointedly at Henry. Ethan pocketed the lighter. Alright, San, let's talk about your issues. I think the restructuring is a joke, Sean said loudly. We're street guys. Try to turn us into a bunch of corporate accountants is a waste of time. It's a cage. Ethan waited. But hey, if you want to play CEO, go ahead. It doesn't affect me much. What does affect me is your plan to shut down my arcades. I won't let that happen. Those arcades are company assets, Sean, Henry interjected. They are my life's work. Sans joutif. I built those dens from nothing. I bled for them. Victor's fine with it. Now that he's gone, you think you can just take them? No. My proposal is simple. The company hands the arcades over to me. I go independent. I'll pay the company a monthly consulting fee that's even higher than the cut Victor used to take. We stay brothers, we stay friendly, but the arcades are mine. That's what I've earned. The room was silent. Henry's face was stone. You know we can't do that, Sean. If we give you the arcades, every other captain want to take their pieces too. The organization would vanish overnight. Then maybe it should. Sean snuffed. Ethan leaned forward, his voice calm but terrifyingly cold. Sean, I respect your history with Victor, but there's a way things are done. What you're asking for is theft. Sean's face twisted. Theft? You're calling me a thief? I put 15 years of my life into this. You were paid for those years, Ethan said. Now, here are my terms. Option 1. The company takes the arcades. We give you a generous buyout and a new executive role in the legal side of the business. You'll make more money than you ever did, and you'll be safe from the law. Option 2. You keep the arcades, and you leave Chicago tonight. You don't come back. Ever. Ethan spoke the last sentence slowly, each word like a hammer blow. Sean stared at him, then burst into a mocking laugh. You've got to be kidding me. You're giving me an ultimatum? Kid, I was cracking skulls when you were still in diapers. I'm taking the arcades, and I'm staying right here in the west side. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Ethan flicked his ash. Sean, I'm not negotiating with you. I'm notifying you. This is the last bit of respect I'm showing you for Victor's sake. Sean spat his cigarette out and leaned in close to Ethan's face. Or what? You're going to hit me with a briefcase? You don't scare me, Ethan. You're just a suit. The words had barely left Sean's mouth when a shadow blurred in his peripheral vision. Crack! Camel's boot caught the side of Sean's chair, sending the man sprawling onto the floor. Sean was a veteran of 100 street fights, though. He rolled instinctively, avoiding Camel's follow-up kick, and scrambled to his feet. Thud! Thud! The door to the suite rattled as Axel and the other goons tried to force their way in. Sean brushed the dust off his jacket, his eyes burning with malice as he glared at Camel. Camel, you always were a hothead. That's how people get hurt. Camel spat on the floor and grabbed a heavy glass bottle from the table. But Henry Payne stepped in and held him back. Enough, Ethan Ford said. His voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the tension like a blade. Camel glared at Sean, but lowered the bottle. Ethan, this prick doesn't know when to shut up. Let me teach him some manners. Ethan gave a thin, cold smile. He didn't seem bothered by the insult at all. No need to get upset. Let them go. What? Camel and Big Ed looked at Ethan in disbelief. They had Sean cornered. Why let him walk? Ethan stood up, adjusted his cuffs, and walked right up to Sean. He leaned in until they were inches apart. Get out, Ethan whispered. The two men locked eyes. It was a clash of wills, the old-school thug versus the new-age mastermind. After a long, silent heartbeat, Sean shrugged. He knew the bridge was burned. There was no more talking to be done. Fine, you made your choice, CEO. Axel, we're leaving. Sean turned and walked out of the suite, his crew falling in line behind him. Ethan watched them go, his expression unreadable. A moment later, one of the bouncers ran in. Ethan, they jumped 2 of our guys on the way out. They're pretty banged up. Ethan nodded calmly. Take care of them. Make sure they get the best medical attention. The bouncer left, closing the door. Camel immediately turned to Ethan. Ethan, they just assaulted our people in our own house. We're just going to let that slide? Ethan took a sip of his soda and looked at Camel. What did you want me to do? Kill him here? Yes. Fuck him, Camel shouted. And then what? Ethan asked. If we kill an old guard like Sean Young right now, without a public reason, what do the other captains think? They think Henry and I are purging the old guard to consolidate power. They'll get scared, and scared men start shooting. Camel froze. He hadn't thought that far ahead. If we're going to take down a veteran, we need a righteous cause, Ethan explained. We need the entire organization to agree that Sean is the problem. We need a consensus. Otherwise, we're just tyrants, and the family falls apart. Camel, Henry, and Big Ed nodded slowly. The logic was undeniable. So what's the next move? Henry asked. What do we get that cause? Ethan pulled out his lighter and flicked the flame. The orange light danced in his eyes. Henry, tomorrow morning, you send a small team to repossess the arcades. If Sean resists, and he will, you call an emergency meeting for all the top executives. Henry's eyes lit up. He saw the play. I get it. We make him the aggressor. Ethan smiled. Exactly. Late that night, Lucky Streak Arcade. Sean sat in his office, chain-smoking while 5 accountants frantically went through the books. Axel, get some moving trucks tomorrow. Start packing up the high-end machines. Tell the regulars we're moving to a new spot. Got it, boss, Axel said. What if they come back to try and seize the place? Sean gave a predatory grin. If they show up, throw them the hell out. The next morning, a nondescript van pulled up to the entrance of Shantytown District on Chicago's west side. The door slid open, and Lyle and Packy stepped out with 6 other guys. Packy was wearing a black suit that was clearly a size too small. He kept tugging at the collar, looking miserable. Packy, stop fidgeting. You look like you've got a rash, Lyle muttered. I'm not built for suits, Lyle, Packy grumbled. Can we just get this over with? I don't like the look of this place, and I really don't like that we only brought 8 guys. Sean's got a small army in there. Lyle threw an arm around Packy's shoulder. We aren't here for a war, Packy. Just follow my lead. But what if we get jumped? Ethan's going to be pissed if we lose the arcades on day 1. Lyle had a strange, knowing smirk on his lips. Don't worry about it. Today is a good day to get a little bruised up. It for the boss. Packy didn't get it, but he followed Lyle into the heart of the district until they reached the Lucky Streak Arcade. 2 thugs were smoking and playing an old Street Fighter machine near the door. Lyle walked up and slapped the shoulder of the guy on the right. Hey, where's Sean? Boss ain't here, the thug muttered without looking up. Lyle reached down and yanked the power cord out of the wall. The screen went black. The hell is wrong with you? The thug roared, standing up to tower over Lyle. Packy and the others immediately stepped in, surrounding the 2 guards. Watch your mouth, kid, Packy said, puffed out his chest. The guards looked at the numbers and backed down slightly. Who are you people? Lyle pulled a folder from his briefcase. Corporate office. Henry Payne sent us. We're here to repossess the facility and the equipment. Take us to the manager. Corporate? What the hell is that? The thug sneered. Lyle didn't hesitate. He swung a palm, landing a stinging slap across the guy's face. Move, Lyle commanded, grabbing the guy by the collar and dragging him inside. The daytime crowd was thin, maybe 30 people, but the atmosphere was thick with smoke and desperation. The back area was full of illegal slot machines. Everyone out. This facility is under new management, Lyle shouted, his voice echoing over the electronic chirps of the games. Who the hell is shouting? A cold voice rang out. Axel stepped out from the back office, followed by a dozen men armed with clubs and brass knuckles. We're from the main office, Lyle said, standing his ground. I'm live. We're here to collect the keys and the ledgers. Sean's time is up. Sean said nobody takes anything, Axel said, his voice flat. He picked up a folding metal chair. Get out. Lyle's smirk returned. You going to make us? You have any idea what the consequences are for hitting corporate staff? I don't care, Axel said, and he swung. The metal chair caught Lyle across the shoulder, sending him spinning to the floor. His head clipped the edge of a machine, and blood immediately began to pour down his face. Lyle, Packy roared. He threw a punch, and the arcade erupted into a chaotic brawl. Packy went straight for Axel, but the long-haired youth was like a ghost. He dodged every swing and countered with brutal efficiency. Packy was soon sporting a black eye and a split lip. Lyle, bleeding and battered, managed to crawl back to his feet. Instead of looking angry, he looked satisfied. Packy, everyone, 2 minutes, he shouted. Give it 2 minutes, then we move. They fought for exactly 2 minutes, machines being smashed and bodies flying. Once the timer in his head hit 0, Lyle grabbed Packy by the back of his jacket. Enough. Fall back. Retreat. Packy was confused. He was just getting into the rhythm, but he followed orders. They scrambled out of the arcade, leaving a trail of blood and broken glass behind them. Axel and his men didn't pursue. They stood in the doorway, watching the corporate team flee like frightened dogs. Huh, what a bunch of losers, one of the thugs laughed, wiping blood from his knuckles. You see that? They didn't even have the heart for a real scrap. Forget them, Axel said, turning back inside. Out in the alley, Lyle and his team were gasping for air. Packy was leaning against a dumpster, nursing his ribs. Lyle, that was humiliating. How are we supposed to tell Ethan we got run out of Shantytown Arcade by a bunch of punks? Lyle wiped the blood from his forehead and pulled out his phone. He was grinning. Ethan, it's Lyle. It's done. Everything went exactly like you planned. We got the injuries to prove it. On the other end of the line, Ethan's voice was calm and encouraging. Good work, Lyle. Get the guys some stitches. It's time to drop the net. Half an hour later, Sean Young arrived at the Lucky Streak to find the place trashed. His face turned a deep shade of purple. Where's Axel? Bart. In the back, boss, a subordinate replied. Sean found Axel uprighting some of the machines. Axel, why did you let them get away? You should have held them. We could have used them as leverage. You said to throw them out. I threw them out, Axel said simply. Sean cursed under his breath. The kid was a lethal weapon, but he had the initiative of a brick. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I didn't think Ethan would actually send people this early. The kid's got balls, I'll give him that. He paced the room, thinking. Then he pulled out his phone. Hey, Stan. It's Sean. Ethan sent some goons to my place. I kicked their asses and ran them out of the district. You need to understand, and the other veterans need to understand. If he comes for me today, he's coming for you tomorrow. We need to end this. We need to take him out. On the other end of the line was Stan the Cannon Shaw, another old-timer who managed a string of bars. Stan, Booty. That's a big move, Stan said, sounding hesitant. Don't be a coward, Stan. Stan hissed. You gonna let a college boy tell you how to run your business? If you got any spine at all, you'll back me. Stan cleared his throat. Look, if you actually manage to topple Ethan, I'm with you. But I'm not sticking my neck out first. Just watch me, Sean sneered. But tell me this. If Ethan asks you to move against me, whose side are you on? I'd never move against a brother, Sean. You know that. I'll talk to the others. We'll make sure Ethan knows who really runs the streets. Sean hung up, feeling bolstered. If he wants a war, he's got one. Axel, come with me. We're going to the bank. I'm draining every cent out of the company accounts before they can freeze them. Meanwhile, at a local steakhouse, Stan the Cannon, Shaw was nursing a beer, surrounded by his own crew of yes-men. Stan is a man. Best heart in the business. Stan basked in the praise. He just finished telling them how he put Sean in his place on the phone. Yeah, I told him, I'm not taking orders from some kid. We veterans stay together. A man leaned in. So, is Sean really going independent? Stan picked at his teeth with a toothpick. He's trying. And honestly, I think he might pull it off. Henry and Ethan are just suits. They don't have the stomach for what Sean is planning. I told Sean I've got his back. Stan slammed the table. In this family, loyalty is everything. If anyone tries to mess with my brothers, they've got to go through me. Stan's bravado was interrupted by his phone buzzing. What? A meeting at 2? All senior executives? Stan frowned. At the Zenith Hotel? Fine, I'll be there. He stood up, adjusting his belt. Duty calls, boys. The corporate office is calling a meeting. Probably going to beg us for peace. 2 o'clock, the Zenith Hotel. A crowd of about 30 men gathered in front of the ballroom. They were a colorful bunch, silk suits, gold chains, and tracksuits. To any passerby, they looked like a mob convention, which wasn't far from the truth. 2 black Mercedes pulled up to the curb. It's Ethan and Henry, someone whispered. The crowd went quiet. Camel and Big Ed stepped out first, flanking the rear doors. Ethan Ford emerged, looking sharp in a crisp white shirt and slacks, radiating a calm, academic authority. Duke Drake stepped forward and draped a black overcoat over Ethan's shoulders. Good afternoon, Ethan, the men mumbled, bowing slightly. Despite their reservations, Ethan's role in avenging Victor Vane had earned him a terrifying reputation. Ethan gave a polite nod and walked into the hotel without stopping. Henry and Camel followed closely. Inside the conference room, Ethan sat at the head of the long table. These 30 men were the backbone of Victor's empire, managing the KTVs, the bars, the restaurants, and the warehouses. Under Ethan's restructuring, they had all been given titles like vice president or general manager. It was a change most of them didn't understand, but they understood the money Ethan was generating. Ethan tapped a pen on the table. I called this emergency meeting because we've hit a snag. The arcade repossession isn't going well. Sean Young is refusing to hand over the keys. What do you think we should do? The room broke into hushed whispers. No one wanted to be the first to speak. Everyone knew Sean was a hothead, and no one wanted to be on his hit list. Ethan's gaze turned cold. No opinions. He leaned forward. I was planning to sell off the arcade division. The liquid assets from that sale were slated to be distributed among all of you as a restructuring bonus. But since Sean is holding onto the properties and draining the accounts, there's no bonus. So, I ask again, what should we do? The mention of a bonus changed the atmosphere instantly. Sean's out of line, a man in a tracksuit shouted. He can't just steal from the family. He's got to go. It's company property. Who does he think he is? The room erupted into a chorus of condemnation. Henry Payne struggled to hide a smile. Ethan had just turned Sean's brothers into his executioners by putting a price tag on his head. Ethan stood up and started walking around the table. I'm glad we're on the same page. I've authorized Camel to handle the situation, and I expect all of you to assist him. If we work together, we grow together. He stopped behind Stan the Cannon Shaw. Stan stiffened, his breath hitching in his throat. I'm a reasonable man, Ethan continued, his voice silky. As long as you do your jobs and stay loyal, you'll never want for anything. But Ethan paused. The silence in the room was deafening. But if someone chooses to damage the company's interests, they are damaging your interests, and I won't tolerate that. He looked toward the door. Like Sean, I gave him a chance, but he chose to spit on it. And then he did something unforgivable. The doors opened. Lyle, Packy, and the others walked in, covered in bandages and looking like they'd been through a meat grinder. The room gasped. He didn't just refuse to cooperate, Ethan said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. He assaulted your colleagues. He drew blood. That son of a bitch, the tracksuit man yelled. Ethan, let me at him. The room was a frenzy of loyalty now. Ethan raised a hand to quiet them. I thought Sean was alone in this. But then I found out. Someone in this very room was encouraging him. Someone was telling him they'd back his mutiny. Ethan signaled to Big Ed. Ed handed him a sleek black baseball bat. Without warning, Ethan swung. Crack! The bat slammed into the side of Stan Shaw's head. Stan let out a strangled cry and collapsed to the floor, blood spraying across the white tablecloth. The room froze in sheer, paralyzing terror. Not a single person moved. The silence was so absolute that the sound of Stan's ragged breathing on the floor seemed to echo. They had seen Ethan be smart. They had seen him be cold. But they had never seen him do the dirty work himself. The sight of the college kid standing over a bleeding veteran with a bat in his hand was a nightmare they wouldn't soon forget. Ethan, please, a man stammered, half rising to beg for mercy. Ethan didn't even look at him. You want to speak for him? The man sat down instantly, his mouth snapping shut. Stan was curled in a fetal position, sobbing and bleeding. Ethan, I'm sorry. Please don't kill me. I didn't mean it. The bravado from the steakhouse was gone. He was a broken old man. Ethan handed the bat back to Big Ed. Stan, I know about your little phone calls with Sean. I knew about the kickbacks you've been taking for years, and I looked the other way because Victor valued you. But you thought that meant I was soft. You thought you could coordinate a coup behind my back. Big Ed stepped forward and delivered a brutal kick to Stan's stomach. Stan gasped for air, unable to even scream anymore. Ed, get him out of here, Ethan said calmly. Stan Shaw is officially removed from the company. If I see him in Chicago after tonight, he won't be leaving in one piece. Got it, boss, Big Ed grunted, dragging the limp Stan out of the room like a bag of trash. Ethan walked back to the head of the table. He scanned the faces of the 30 men. Some were pale, others were sweating, but all of them were looking at him with absolute, undivided attention. I hate traitors, Ethan said. Does everyone understand? Camel was the first to stand. Loud and clear, Ethan. The rest of the room followed suit, bowing deeply. We understand, boss. Ethan smiled. Good. Sit down. We're all family here. As long as we move in one direction, the future is bright. Henry here is Victor's hand-picked successor. He has my full backing. I expect you to give him the same. Of course, Ethan. Whatever Henry needs. Henry felt a weight lift off his shoulders. The old guard had been broken. He was finally the boss in more than just name. One more thing, Ethan said. To mark this new era and distance ourselves from the legal troubles of the past, Vane Enterprises is no more. From today, we are the Payne Vane Group. We're going corporate. We're going legitimate. The men nodded frantically. They would have agreed to call the company the Pink Fluffy Bunnies if it meant Ethan wouldn't hit them with a bat. Camel, Ethan said, his tone shifting back to business. Sean Young, I want a result. Camel grinned, a dark, predatory look in his eyes. You'll have it, Ethan. He isn't going anywhere. That night, Lucky Streak Arcade. Smash! A bottle of expensive whiskey shattered against the wall. That prick. He's really doing it. He's coming for me. Sean roared, pacing his office like a caged tiger. Sean, word is the whole board is backing Ethan now, said Wayne Miller, Sean's strategist and right-hand man. Stan Shaw got beaten nearly to death and side. Sean, Ethan Ford owns this city now. We're outnumbered, outgunned, and outfunded. Maybe we should just take the buyout and head to Florida. Sean grabbed Wayne by the collar. And give up everything? No. I'm going to show him why I'm a legend. We're going to hit them where it hurts. We're going to take Ethan out. Wayne's heart skipped a beat. San, that's suicide. If Ethan dies, the whole city will burn. His people will hunt us to the ends of the earth. Then let it burn. San screamed. I'm not dying in a nursing home. Axel, get the boys ready. We're going on the offensive. Wayne saw the madness in Sean's eyes. He knew then that the man was already a ghost. He just hadn't realized it yet. 3 days later, the West Side Precinct. Chief, you really want to put this in the official report? Officer Lewis asked, following Detective Zimmer down the hall. Zimmer didn't slow down. If we don't report it, we can't investigate it. The West Side is a war zone right now. We've identified the players, Lewis said, holding out a file. It's Camel versus Sean Young, both former Vane associates. Zimmer glanced at the photos of smashed storefronts and burned-out cars. What's the motive? Looks like a split in the ranks. Internal power struggle. Sima Homet. He knew Ethan Ford was behind the restructuring of the Vane Empire. Ethan is cleaning house. He's making the street guys fight each other so he can pick up the pieces. Tell the boys to stay on it. I want every one of these thugs in a cell. Chief, word is the higher-ups don't want a big scene. They want it settled quietly, Lewis whispered. Then we'll settle it quietly, Zimmer growled. With handcuffs. At a West Side KTV lounge, a group of Sean's men burst in, smashing bottles and chasing out the customers. But before they could leave, a van screeching to a halt outside. Camel's crew poured out, and a brutal street brawl erupted. Minutes later, the attackers were fleeing into the shadows. 4 of them piled into a getaway van, breathless and covered in blood. My God, I almost didn't make it out of there, one of them gasped. Wayne Miller, Sean's strategist, held his bleeding arm. A deep gash ran from his elbow to his wrist. He looked at Axel, who was sitting in the back, calmly cleaning his blade. We can't keep doing this, Axel, Wayne hissed. Camel's people are everywhere. They've got spies on every corner. We're losing a man every hour. I do what Sean says, Axel replied. Sean is going to get us all killed. Wayne snapped. He's lost 5 arcades in 2 days. The rest are shuttered. We're broke and we're hunted. Axel, you got a mother to take care of. You think Sean is going to pay her bills when you're in the ground? Axel's hand paused on the blade, but he said nothing. Take us to the safe house, Wayne ordered the driver. They arrived at a secluded courtyard house on the outskirts of the district. Inside, Sean Young was soaking his feet in a basin of hot water, looking remarkably calm for a man in the middle of a war. Boss, we're back, Wayne said, walking in. How'd it go? Sean asked without looking up. It's a disaster, Sean. Camel's men were waiting for us. Half the crew is in jail or in the hospital. We're being squeezed, and we've got nowhere left to hide. We have to call a truce. Sean stood up, drying his feet. Truce? No. Ethan Ford wants to finish me. Fine. Wayne, I want you to contact Camel. Tell him I'm ready to talk. Tell him I want a meeting with Ethan to settle the terms of my departure. Wayne's eyes widened. Really? You're giving up? Sean gave a chilling, jagged smile. I'm not giving up. I'm setting a trap. He won't expect me to strike during a peace talk. I'm going to kill him, Wayne. And once the head is gone, the body will rot. Wayne felt a cold dread settle in his stomach. This was a suicide mission. Even if they killed Ethan, they'd never make it out of the room alive. San, are you sure? It's the only way we win, Wayne. Now go. Set the meeting. Wayne nodded and walked out. But as soon as he stepped into the courtyard, he caught Axel's eye. The long-haired youth was leaning against the wall, smoking. Axel, Wayne whispered. I've made my choice. Axel blew out a cloud of smoke. Sean didn't listen. No, he's going to take us all down with him. Axel stayed silent for a moment, then flicked his cigarette. I'm with you, Wayne. I'm not a fool. Wayne let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Good. Let's go. That night, Wayne Miller sat in the back of the darkened Lucky Streak arcade. He looked at Axel, then pulled out his phone and dialed a number he'd kept in his pocket for days. Benny? It's Wayne. I'm ready to talk.